What's going on, guys? Just got back from Ecchi Expo 2021 in Austin. Thank you for having us. We had an amazing time. The boys weren't able to go with me, but I took some friends. And I have this great interview with Katelyn Barr that she was so gracious in giving me. Thank you to Ecchi Expo. Thank you to Katelyn Barr. Thank you to everybody else who I met. It was an amazing time. I tried to get a few more interviews. I'll get more into it in the recap episode. But here's this. And enjoy. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm here with Katelyn Barr at Ecchi Expo 2021. And she has given me the honor and privilege of getting to interview her. And I guess first of all, how's Ecchi Expo going? And have you ever been to like an 18 plus con before?
No, actually, this is the first one I've ever done. I don't think there are many of them, and it's going great. I love this con so much. I hope they invite me back every year forever. I know that cons don't usually do that every year, but I want to come all the time. This is such a good con so far. Josh Wilson, who's in charge, has treated everybody really well. My handler's amazing. My handler, Amy, she's so good. The staff and the attendees have been just tremendously welcoming, and everybody's so chill too. You never know, like with a con that like the theme is like sexy, like you're like, oh, it's gonna be wild, and it is, but it's also chill. Yeah. Like I didn't think it was gonna be so chill, so I'm relieved. But it's like cool. It's sexy, but it's cool, and everybody's chill. You know.
Mm-hmm. Like I've only ever been to one other 18 plus convention, but it's also it's not sexy, but also the people that go are like very chill because they're older, 18. So I guess the maturity comes with the age. We were talking earlier and I told you that I do music on the side and stuff, and then listening to some of your interviews, I heard that you play drums. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long you've played for them or you play drums, but do you have like somebody that you play with, like a group? And do you have any original songs for that group or that you've written yourself?
Right now I'm sort of in the middle. Should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
whatever's best.
Okay. Right now I'm not like officially in a group. I have been playing music with Emily Neves, another voice actress. I don't know if you know Emily Neves. But she and I have started playing music together recently, and she writes music. So we've been messing around with her songs a little bit. I'm not a songwriter myself. But I've been playing drums on and off since I was about 12 or 13. I'm not like amazing, but I enjoy it, and I think that's the most important thing. So
seeing as you've been like doing music since you were 12 or 13, like what made you decide to go into acting as opposed to like keeping up with music?
I think I've loved acting for longer, probably. It's silly, but I think probably people ask me like, what was the first time you like performed? And I think probably in my church Christmas play when I was 8 years old, I was the donkey in the nativity scene. All the other kids were sheep, and I was the one donkey. And I hammed it up as the donkey. I was kicking my feet, It was supposed to be, we were supposed to be silent, just sitting around looking at Jesus, and I was just kicking my legs up and hee-hawing. So I think that was when I knew. So messed up. So yeah, I think I've loved acting for longer, and I went to school for acting. I went to Barton College and got my degree in theater, and my dream was, growing up, my dream was to be an actress on Broadway, and that evolved into voice acting and anime. It's a long story, but yeah, it was always acting, and then the avenue became voice acting for anime, but it was always going to be acting in one way or another.
Okay. I heard in a different interview that like the way that you got into voice acting was I don't want to say like out of the blue, but it just kind of happened. And I wanted to know like so had you done any voice work before you got to work on, or you got the call back to start doing voices for Log Horizon?
My experience was mostly in stage acting. I had done a little bit of on camera. The only voice work I had done was at my college. So there was I can't remember if it was a movie. I think it was a movie that was produced on my college campus by the students. It was like their thesis, and I wasn't in it, but it was like some seniors ahead of me that had graduated had done this movie, and it was at a time like I went to a really small college. It was Barton College is a private college, really small. The media department was really small, and they didn't have like, at the time that those seniors graduated, they didn't have like good audio equipment, and so when they made the movie, the audio sounded like not good. And they did their best with what they had, but like the movie that when they finally finished it, when they finally finished with the editing and putting it all together, those seniors had graduated and they were gone, and the audio just was bad. So when I was coming up, they had better audio stuff, and they had me and a couple of other theater majors, which the theater department was also small. I think we had 4 majors at the time that I was there. They had us go in and redub those actors, and we all played like 4 characters each, and we just dubbed over these seniors that had recorded and gone on with their lives. And so that was my first experience dubbing, was a live action dub, and that was extra tricky. So that was it. That was my first experience.
It's a pretty interesting story. Like I definitely didn't expect you to be like dubbing over somebody's previous work at a college.
That's the only thing I've done.
And then what made you decide to want to start doing like ADR script writing? Were you asked to do it, or was it something that you wanted to do?
So I actually had not given any thought to doing script writing. I was at the time. Well, I started doing voice acting for Sentai after I had auditioned. I'd been cast in Log Horizon. I had done a couple of things, a couple of small roles. And the first job I started doing for Sentai after that was quality control. I worked in the office a little bit part-time, just watching DVDs and finding errors. It was a fun job. I ended up watching the Pat Labor OVAs, I think, 6 times straight through. I hope to never watch them again. They're wonderful. I loved them, but I've watched them enough. Oh my God. But I liked that job. And I did that for a little while, and that was cool because I got to work in the office at Sentai, and I made a lot of friends there. And I was good friends. I mean, I still am. Good friends with Clint Bickham, who is a very, very prolific ADR scriptwriter. Has been for Sentai and currently is for Funimation. He's like the One Piece writer. Has been like over the most episodes over the longest amount of time. He's the One Piece like master. He's a good friend of mine, and at the time he was looking to train up some new writers, and he just kind of randomly was like, do you want to give it a shot? He was like, I have no idea if you'll be good at it, honestly. And I was like, neither do I. And he's like, well, I'll give it a shot. And he showed me the ropes, and he was like, oh, you're actually kind of good at this. So we gave it a shot, and I've grown a lot since then. I was not amazing at first, but I had potential, I think, and so he helped me get there. And that was. I mean, it's a pretty simple story, I guess, but that's how it started. And now I do it full time for Funimation. So
nice. And you've worked on like a bunch of things that I've watched, a bunch of things that I've heard of. One of those shows being the Quintessential Quintuplets, which my cousin absolutely loves. He keeps telling me to watch the show, and he constantly is like, I don't even know what character it is, but like he keeps drawing this one character that has like the hair coming down like across her eye, and that I've never actually watched the show. He's just told me a bunch of stuff about it, and he's in love with it.
Shoot the headphones around her neck?
Yeah.
That's Miku best girl.
And like I was also like looking around to see if you had done any simul dubs, because I know that that's starting to become like more and more of a thing, especially recently, and which is great because I'm always looking for a dub. Like if it's better or as good as Japanese, I'll watch it because I prefer listening to the acting in English and then paying attention to what's going on, as opposed to looking down, reading subtitles, looking back up, and that whole thing. But what's it like working on a simuldub as opposed to like writing scripts for things you had done before where you had maybe more time?
Definitely the biggest challenge with a simuldub, and at this point I've done several simuldubs. Before COVID, working full-time at Funimation, simuldubs were almost everything I did. The biggest challenge with a simuldub, especially if it's a show that doesn't come from a manga or a game or some kind of source material, is we don't know what's coming next. If we're working on a show and it's episode 7 and Japan has only put out 7 episodes, we literally don't know what's going to happen in episode 8. So a character might, look like they're going to be a major character, but we don't know that they're going to die in the next episode, or we don't know that or they might look like they died and we have to kind of assume well, maybe they'll come back, or maybe this girl is secretly a boy, or how anime is, you really don't ever know, there's could be a twist. So and that's really hard for dubbing, especially if you're casting a character. You don't want to cast a male voice actor for a character that looks male, that in the next episode is going to go, I'm actually a girl, or they've had that happen before, and then they have to go back and recast and then redub that episode for DVD because whoops, that's a girl, or something like that. So that's the biggest challenge with simuldubs, especially as a writer. You have to kind of keep things vague, if they haven't disclosed gender, or whether somebody's alive or dead, or things that are not explicitly stated in the translation or the source material. You have to keep things vague. You have to kind of dance around things a little bit. That's definitely the biggest challenge, outside of deadlines. Those are always a challenge. So.
On just keeping the train going with all the script writing stuff. So you've worked on shows from extreme ends, I would say. You've worked on One Piece, and then you've worked on Akame ga Kill, but you've also worked on Citrus. You've worked on Monthly Girls and Ozaki-kun. Are there any challenges that you run into whenever you're writing one script and then jumping from that and then going to the next one and trying to, figure out how to, adapt what you get to fit what you're writing for?
I would say it's not so much a challenge swapping from one genre to another as it is swapping from one director's style or one studio's style to another. If I'm writing a show that's a comedy and I know the director is if it's Jeremy Inman is directing it, and I know that he likes everything to be funny and more adaptive, and maybe not stick as close to the translation, maybe have a little more fun with it, be a little more loosey-goosey. Or if it's another director that's, no, we want everything to be as close to the manga translation as possible, or I want to keep as many of the Japanese terms as possible. Nothing wrong with that, just different approaches. Or if it's a licensor request, sometimes the licensor will say, you have to keep this word for this, special power or this place or magical item or whatever. You have to call it this, even if it makes no sense in English. The licensor will do that. Every once in a while, they'll say, we don't care that this sounds stupid in your language. It has to be this. And it's their IP. We have to. Yeah. And it's ooh, we really wish you would let us maybe not do that. But at the end of the day, the IP is king and the licensor is king. So really, I kind of got a little off topic with that, but genre so much is not what trips me up. Slipping from one genre into another. It's more okay, what is this licensor like? And what is this director like? And what does this studio prefer? So that to me is more tricky than jumping from one genre to another.
And then, is there anything tricky about going from new series or older series that we're adapting now because anime is super popular now, to doing that, to jumping onto an already established series like One Piece, and then going back, doing some other ones, and then jumping back onto One Piece? Or is that kind of easier, like like coming home to something you already know?
I like that you call it coming home. I have described working on One Piece as like slipping into a comfortable pair of shoes. I love One Piece, and just because of scheduling and deadlines and things like that, I have been on One Piece and off of One Piece for years. One Piece was the first... Is that right? Yes. It was the first show I worked on for Funimation. I had been doing shows for Sentai for a couple years, and then I started doing One Piece for Funimation. I did that for a while, and then I jumped off and did something else for a little bit, and then back to One Piece, something else, back to One Piece. And, hundreds of episodes will pass, and there will be a time skip or whatever, and I'll come back, and it's like, I'm back. And I'll have to catch up, like, all right, what's going on? Where are we at? Where's Zoro right now? Where's Luffy? But it is like jumping back into a comfortable pair of shoes, and it does take a little bit of catching up. But I think other than lore and animation style, I think there really aren't any differences. Sometimes it's literally a matter of like, oh, the show is old, so the animation's less sharp and less crisp, so the mouth flaps don't look as clear. Therefore, it might be easier or it might be harder to match these flaps. If they weren't animated for high def, like if they weren't meant to be seen in high def, maybe they weren't drawn that great. So that might present its own kind of challenge. I've definitely worked on shows where it's like, oh, they didn't think anybody was ever going to see these flaps. And when I say flap, I might have said this already, but just to clarify, when I say flaps, I mean like the movement of the mouth. Like we call them flaps, and that's what we write to. That's the beats that we try to fill with dialogue. In case I didn't say that.
And then jumping back into just acting in general, you played characters young, old, male, female. Like adapting your voice to those different characters, is that something that you learned while you were doing voice acting, or is it something that you already had prior experience with through your theater work and stuff like that?
I think the cool thing about voice acting, as opposed to acting on camera or acting on stage, is that no one can see what you look like. So you could be a boy or an old lady or a snake or a dog. And it does not matter what you look like. I play literally 4 different characters that are dragons. Like, I play 4 dragons, dude. I realized that today while I was like telling people like, oh, I voiced this, this, and this. I was like, she's a dragon. Oh, she's a dragon too. Oh, and that one's a dragon. Wow. And it's great because, like, on stage, I would never get to play an 8-year-old boy. Or, I could play a 60-year-old woman, but they'd have to put a bunch of makeup and prosthetics on me, hopefully. So, yeah, playing age and gender that I don't represent in real life is kind of unique to voice acting. And I think that's cool because this is really the only medium where that's the thing. I think it's a muscle. It's just like working out a muscle on like your physical body. I guess it is kind of working out a muscle because it's your voice. It's part of your body. And I've definitely gotten better at it over the years. I used to play pretty much exclusively like big sisters and mature women. And that was about all I could do for the first couple years. And the first role I ever got was Liliana in Log Horizon, who's like high-pitched and sweet. And that was because it was my first one, and Kyle Jones brought me in because I was new and he liked my voice, and Emily had said, bring her in, she's good. But he didn't know what I could do, and neither did I. And I was nervous, and I was like, oh God, that doesn't sound good. And I remember going to the premiere of Log Horizon at Alamo Draft House in Houston, because they used to do like screenings back then of, you know, the first, like, come watch the first 3 or 4 episodes of this new anime. They would do it like every Tuesday. It was so cool. Yeah, it kind of fell out of habit, like with COVID and everything. But it was a thing that they used to do like weekly. Then it kind of went to monthly, and I don't think they're doing it right now. But it used to be a really cool thing. And I went to the Log Horizon one. It was my first show. I was so excited. I got all dressed up. I was like, oh my God, it's a premiere. I'm going to see my character on the big screen and my voice is going to come out of it. But I was also, there was this voice in the back of my head that was like, no, they replaced me. Like, there's no way. Like, they definitely heard that and went, this is garbage. And like, and I was sitting there, and Meg McDonald was with me. She's a good friend of mine. She plays a Suzu in that show. And she sat next to me, and she was like, no, they did not, you know, they didn't replace you. She's like, I promise you, your voice is going to come out of there. And I like held my breath, and I was like, they changed it. Oh my God, they changed it. And they didn't. And, and she's like, no, that's a really completely normal thing to feel. And it's just like how people who aren't voice actors and aren't used to hearing their voice all the time, like you hear your voice on an answering machine or something, and you're like, oh God, is that what I sound like? You know? And it really is like flexing a muscle. The more you use your voice, the more comfortable you are hearing it, and the more you can do with it. So now I'm like, I can do multiple voices in the same scene if I want to, and nobody will know the difference. And it's just because I've flexed those muscles for so long. And that was a really roundabout way to answer that question. It's a muscle, is what I meant to say.
I always love detailed answers, just because whenever I listen to a podcast or an interview, you know, the more insight that I get, the more I enjoy it. So feel free to answer away.
Insight for days.
Yeah. And since you mentioned we're living in, you know, literally a historic time, and the entire world was affected, people are going to remember this for years and years. What's it been like? Like, I know that some people already have like some home setups before COVID even. Like, they had home setups to do some voiceover work or to do like some cleanup work. But what's it been like doing voiceover and working on these things, and while COVID, you know, has been going on?
Oh, thank you for asking that too. This has been huge. Obviously, like, COVID's horrible, and I'm just going to say that now. COVID's horrible. I would really rather there have not been a global pandemic. It's bad, and I'm looking forward to the day when this is all over. But if one good thing came out of it for me, it's that I am now capable of, like, producing my own audio, and I'm thankful for that. Again, I would rather COVID not have been a thing. I'm just making sure I say that very clearly. I don't want to be like, oh, yay, like, you know, and like, no, God, no. But because of COVID, it really did. You're right. It kicked a bunch of us into gear. Almost all of us. We were like, oh, crap, we have to, like, we have to figure something out. So I didn't know anything about audio. Oh my God, I knew nothing, dude. And I'm still learning a lot, but I now have a real big girl microphone. I have an XLR microphone and an interface and a sound booth. It's a vocal booth to go, so it's basically like blankets on a wire structure. And so it's not like a whisper room, but it's, you know, the next best thing. It's something I could take down if I wanted to. And I know how to use Reaper and Pro Tools, kind of. I'm not a real audio engineer. God, no. I'm not anywhere near that level of capability, but I can get by. And I'm so thankful for that, because a lot of us really were like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. And I'm so thankful for engineers, because it really was audio engineers that stepped up and helped us get there. Because so many audio engineers at the beginning of COVID had to help studios get their actors, like, in position to record from home. Funimation, for one, sent out, and I'm talking about within like a week or two of the pandemic hitting, like mid-March, Funimation sent out recording, like home recording kits. I want to say like 400 of them, not all at once. It was like in phases because they couldn't get them all out at the same time, but hundreds of recording kits. I'm talking about, yeah, it was nuts. It was like iPads, microphones, not amazing microphones, but microphones that could get the job done, you know, like, and they were USB, but like a mic stand, pop filter, to get their actors something to continue recording from home. And because of that, we all had to kind of learn how to engineer ourselves and do it over a call. And from there, some of us built out our home studio a little bit. And some of us are still using the do-it-yourself kit, but all of us stepped up our game a little. And I think that's going to lead to a new age for ADR for anime, because all of the actors know a little bit more about audio now. And maybe, hopefully, we'll be more appreciative of the audio engineers that got us here, because, oh my God.
And how does directing work? Like, how does do you just like do it over Skype or over Zoom or Discord or something? Or how exactly do you work? Does a director work with the voice actor whenever they're doing it from home?
Yeah, so it's usually, with the exception, there's a rare exception for like, I have one studio that just is like, please direct yourself. Here are your lines, here is your deadline. But for the most part, like for Funimation, Sentai, LA Studios, for the most part, it's, all right, it's going to be a session over Microsoft Teams or Zoom or something like that. You're going to have like a screen share of the script and a screen share of the video and Source Connect for recording, like capturing your audio. And they have an engineer recording, like doing the engineering for you on the other end. But at the beginning of the pandemic, when we just had those iPads, it was like you were doing your own dialogue placement as the actor. On your end. So everybody was like, what's a track? How do I arm a track? What does that mean? You know, like, I didn't know what arming a recording track meant. You know, you're an audio person, but I was like, huh? Like, so we've come a long way.
And then was there, like, a show that you worked on that you feel got your name out there more in the industry, got you, like, more... I guess you'd call it in demand, because like you're going through your credits, you have a ton. So obviously you're somebody that people want to work with, or people want to work with you. Do you think that there was something that made that a thing?
Yeah, I think My Hero is probably the obvious one. My Hero Academia, I play Ryukyu, the big dragon. And that actually came not during the pandemic. Okay, I have to tell this. All right. So the last convention I did before Ecchi Expo right now was KeyCon, which was a one-day convention. And I'm blanking on the name of the town. It was like out in West Texas. But it was, I had recorded Ryukyu at the time, but I couldn't announce it. And that convention was like, oh, we're big Longhorns fans, and we love that you played Cow Lady in the My Hero Academia movie, which literally was one line. At the beginning of the Two Heroes movie, there's like a cowgirl hero that says, y'all are finished, and that's it. That's it. And that was my involvement in My Hero at the time. Except I was Ryukyu, and I couldn't tell anyone. Because it was still under NDA, so I was like, cool, I'll come to this con as Cow Lady. And I appreciated it. I don't want to sound unappreciative, but I was like, y'all don't even know that I'm Ryukyu, though. So that was the last con I did. So this is the first one I've done since Ryukyu. And this is the first one I've done since Yami from To Love Ru got announced. So it's hard to say, but I think Ryukyu is probably, like, it seems like My Hero being in My Hero is a huge game changer for actors right now, and has been for the past couple years. And it's still got steam. I mean, we're in season 5 and it's not slowing down. And Ryukyu's got a pop figure. It's not here until December. They just announced it. I've never had a character with a pop figure. That's like a career landmark for me. So I'm pumped. Waiting for that Cow Lady pop figure.
I'm sure if you wait long enough, I'm sure it'll come. So
she deserves it.
And I mean, I guess it still goes to prove that like even though streaming is like super popular right now, but if you end up being on something like Toonami, something like My Hero's the most popular thing in the world. Like the show's good to begin with, but if it were only streaming, it could only be so popular. The fact that like people see it on their TV because, you know, their parents own cable, or, you know, getting that mainstream recognition is just like a big stepping stone, I guess. But have you worked on anything where like you thought to yourself, man, I wish more people would watch this? Because what I like to do with this podcast is usually like go back and watch things where people have told me to watch it and I'd never heard of it. And did you ever work on anything where you're like, man, I just need people to watch this?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because I agree. There's a lot of things that I'm like, I'm not going to get a print of this character because it won't sell, you know, as much as it means to me. There's 3. I have 3. One of them's under NDA, so I won't say that. But check back with me in a few months. The other 2, one that I was in and one that I had a small part in but wrote. I'm in one called Magical Girl Raising Project. I don't know if you've seen that. I love Magical Girl Raising Project. It's a beautiful series. It's beautiful to look at, just art-wise, and also I just loved my character in it. I play La Pucelle, who is, her civilian identity is a little boy named Sota, who loves magical girls. And, the show is about a mobile game about magical girls, and people who make their avatar in this mobile game, a select few of them are chosen to actually become their magical girl avatar. And he's a little boy that loves magical girls, and he makes a magical girl avatar. And so he becomes a magical girl. And so I got to play a little boy who also was a magical girl. And they cast me because they're like, you can play boys and girls, you know? And it was, I got to flex my acting muscles, and my talking muscles. I talk for a living. Can you tell? No. Not only because it's a boy and a girl in the same character, but also because it's intense. Like the emotional like load of that show is like huge, heavy. And every character in that show has a beautiful, beautiful story and like arc that they go through. Highly recommend. Jade Saxton, who's here, also directed it, and she is very passionate about it as well. So if you talk to her, definitely she'll light up if you ask her about Magical Girl Raising Project. She loved that show. So La Pucelle and Magical Girl Raising Project. Love that show. The show that I wrote that I'm really passionate about is Amagi Brilliant Park. It's a Kyoto animation show. You familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I watched one episode, but it was in Japanese because my friend showed it to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's Kyoto animation, so obviously it's beautiful. Yeah. And it's about a boy who becomes responsible for fixing and rejuvenating this like dilapidated theme park because he has discovered that the mascot characters and magical beings there are real, and it's actually a magical world, and he needs to save it. It's beautiful. And I also play the main boy's alcoholic aunt, but that's neither here nor there. And I also got to write the songs for that. Like, it's very rare that we get to like dub songs. Like, it depends on licensor stuff, it depends on materials, and yada yada yada. Like, and that one, there's 2 like little incidental songs in it, and I got to write them in English. I'm really proud of them, so please watch it.
And I guess that's everything that I really have to ask you, but thank you so much for doing this. And I mean, is there anything that you wanted to say that maybe you didn't get to say, maybe where people can follow you and all that stuff?
Oh, thanks a lot. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I'm enjoying the con. I hope you enjoy the rest of the con as well. We got one more day. And yeah, thank you everyone who's listening. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at KB That's Me, and you spell out B like Bumblebee. KBEE. That's me. KB, that's me. And then Instagram is Katelyn Barr VA, like voice actor, Katelyn Barr VA. Please follow me. And then you'll see when I announce that thing that I wasn't going to be able to tell you about earlier. So, yeah, thanks for listening.
All right, we'll see you guys when we see you guys. And thanks for listening.
tragedy. Cryptic mentality, uppercut them like a fatality. Creating reality, enigmatic actuality. Cryptic mentality, uppercut them like a fatality. Creating reality, enigmatic actuality. Back in Black Shark Attack, taught me stack, skill stack, killer jack, I kill the track, aristocratic, kill the cat, kill chase the fucking rat, I gotta get a lay, Natalie, I'm flat, home run hitter in a broken bat, I twist my hat, become a stat, spray, splat, splat, splat. Yeah. Why can't I just stop this loud, incongruous song or rhapsody? The blasphemy happily makes travesty, depravity derived from tragedy. Why can't I just stop this loud, incongruous song or rhapsody? The blasphemy happily makes travesty, depravity derived from tragedy. Cryptic mentality, uppercut 'em like a fatality, create